5 of us, 3 Australians, one run down to North Carolina. Very beautiful.
Yeah, North Carolina's gorgeous.
Yeah.
My nephew's gonna be starting school.
Art school.
Elon? Oh, okay. Because that's where my nephew's going to. It's called Elon. He's a theater major.
Yeah. I know, no, I can't just know why. Otherwise I'd go.
I just got a text. It said the mics are on. Not necessarily means it might be whatever's in here.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Good. What the hell's it? There you go.
Over 4 years of life. Knowing your assistant chiefs, yeah, I think so. Why not? I'm 35. How old are you? No, there were people 50 and 60 years old. Yeah. Yeah.
Went to law school.
Yeah. Well, South Texas is expensive, but you used to go part-time. It was, you still work for universities and stuff.
Retired.
I drove from here to Houston. I had first semester was ex-forward officer, another officer. It was pretty bad. I shared a house. Then one got sick. He stayed. No, he quit. And then we did homes confirmation stuff. One bedroom apartment. I stayed there during the week.
Hey.
You can get out.
Do you know whether there's a tradition services
I couldn't take
here
it
today?
so low. I had to take full.
Who can I talk to that's going to church or what's going on?
She had requested it.
I requested it from the city, but I just want to make
I
sure.
don't know if we got to the office. Let me show you the.
What's your role here?
So I think we'll go anywhere.
All right, I'll leave you to it.
So she's the oldest. So she's 3.
Oh. I have to be in class. And I get up early in the morning.
Very much.
I'm working full time, school full time, and 4-year-old. Good, there was
Fantastic.
military officers there, dentists, engineers, 60-year-old guy, started training about 40 years. Was a Lutheran minister. So he went to law school, he was going to retire, then worked with his school.
He was like 4 at the time, she was 4, maybe 9. So, just takes pictures of that.
Somebody the other day, I ran into an officer of some class, take the stage, and said, "Oh, your name came up." It's a name, well, occasionally, get off my ass, I read this new book. I get into it, and then I get, I'm about I just usually know. There are programs,
And corrections.
I just write it out, words, and then send it to the publisher. Just lay out on them.
And she's like, this.
So it's just a matter of don't try to do research papers, just write. And don't use it for just conversation. That's right. Case studies.
Yes, absolutely. No, not good. I can just say, research in here.
Yeah, so I just write, and then first, like a book, just from a series of lectures. I have a publisher, Charles Thomas, who does the executive. I don't know,
Yes, it is. Just that, yeah.
it's just, it's attention. If you don't want to do this, ebook, all the others. My history is what. So I just write it. And edit it. Oh, great. It takes a lot of my books. Larry Watts he does his own self-publishing. He's got all the books. And Chris himself, and you can get it up on Amazon. He just sells books. He writes Oh, yeah. Part of the guy told me, you know, if you're doing seminars, and it's his but we took a bunch of seminars and I just took a lot of that's he's sick. Now, what are the 3 history books? Ron Boyce, I thought was in bad shape. They had to move back over. I talked to him a couple of times. I had to call his wife. He said he's okay. Jesus loves he's about my age. I want to do this and I can do it myself. Seriously, that's good if you're ready. It's good if you're speaking.
Yeah.
You're doing consulting work at all those things.
Yes, sir. Oh. That's okay.
Yeah.
Good morning. How much charge actually on the laptop?
Hey, Ron. I forgot, we have an interpreter coming today. He or she can get here till 10:30. Can we start now? Okay, apologies.
Huh?
I apologize.
You want to leave and come back?
You can leave or you can stay, but we'll probably head out.
We're already here, it's only 15 minutes.
Yeah. I know, but I already told you guys at 10 and then I made you guys wait 15, but yeah, we'll be back at 10.
Where is he? We're here.
All right. Bernard, I don't know if there's a way we can. Oh, 10:30. It's just gonna start at 10:30. We got an interpreter. So.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't.
Oh yeah.
I need to catch up with you. Okay, hold on. Lots of things. Nothing bad. Here's the visit.
Nobody knows who you are.
Yeah, it was.
I'm good with that.
It could have just taken you out of the audience.
I see you jumping on the Thomas and
I'm just testing the wind.
means I'm doing it right.
I'm just testing the wind.
Yeah. Can't see there. Right. For kids. I have all my
I'm gonna be here long, you better bring some snacks.
Just know I'm in a great place. As, 100%.
That's a lot more.
We've talked about that. Same. I'm not going anywhere.
Yes. I will endure it.
My work would be in vain, as would yours. I'm halfway through. So tired. Yeah. I'll tell you. Because I saw it.
Bernard, are we ready?
Good.
All right. Morning.
So let me start by apologizing to y'all, to the community, and specifically to our deaf community. We had a mix-up on our end. We had scheduled for the interpreter to come in for 10 o'clock, but the mix-up was we had to put down 10 o'clock tomorrow instead of 10 o'clock today. So we rushed to get an interpreter at the last minute, and that's our fault. So my apologies on that. And I appreciate you guys waiting. I know we were posted to start at 9. I know we typically start at 10. I appreciate you guys waiting until 11 for us to get started for our interpreter to get here. We have 2 articles we want to present y'all. We'll start with drug testing. I'll give you kind of a high-level summary before we move to the bottom. This is really 2 parts. I learned a little bit about our drug testing article here, and I think in talking with some of the staff at APD and some of the officers, I think y'all learned the same impression I was too on one of these things. So the 2 parts to drug testing is 1, we're codifying existing practices on the drugs you're already tested for, which is listed in 49 CFR 40.87. And 2 is we're adding in anabolic steroids for all critical incidents. I was under the impression, as was I think a lot of folks on our team, and I think a lot of officers, frankly, that y'all already had a you guys were already being drug tested for steroids. The issue was you're not. You are for a reasonable suspicion, but when we looked and we called the MRO, frankly, it's super expensive to add steroids to every random drug test. And so the city contemplated kind of what our plan was on this article, and we decided, if you're involved in a critical incident, and what we will do is we'll add back in the definition of critical incident into our definitions article, but it's going to be the same definition of critical incident under Article 16 of the current contract. So what we did is we said random drug tests will include at minimum the drugs listed in 49 CFR 40.87, which is the ones you guys are currently randomly tested for, and also all officers involved in a critical incident. And if you see above, under drug testing, right there, it says that yeah, there it is. But when we did our look into it, the steroid test is a urine test. But we'll verify that with our MRO today. So that is drug testing. And we can move to promotions. On promotions first, actually, can we start at the top, and then can you have the other letter available, the one from the supplemental from Cole? All right. So our promotions article is a combination of 3 things. The first and the largest one is frankly what I've labeled the unsaid things, the things we still need to work on. I don't want y'all to think that our promotions article is our final article. I wouldn't even say it's half-baked. I'd say it's more like 10% baked. Y'all gave us a PowerPoint, and we wanted to start somewhere to come up with an article and then have our subcommittee do a little bit more of the detailed work that y'all probably know best and our promotions team knows best. But so the largest part of this article is, quote unquote, the unsaid things. Like I said, it's 10% baked maybe. Second is, we tried to include our best interpretation of your PowerPoint and your innovative ways to do the commander exam specifically. So if you see something in here on the commander portion that completely goes against what y'all were anticipating, it's not like we're trying to take advantage of the situation. It's just what we interpreted, kind of where you were headed with that, and we're more than open to discussions about that. And then the third thing that we did is we incorporated some changes to the article based on the Kroll report. The Kroll report, one of the things they did was they took a deep dive into our promotions process. But what they did was they looked at 2015 to 2020 in their main report. And I countered with them saying that, looking at the entire data from 15 to 20 doesn't tell
a clear picture because we made significant changes to the promotions process in 2018 in the contract. So tell us if the 18 changes are taking us in the right direction. Was it better than the 15 to 18? Was it worse? All that stuff. And so then they gave us this letter, which we'll post on our website, which you can see later, but it essentially, it says, yes, that the changes we made in the 18 contract were changes in the right direction on promotions. And so whatever negative data there was in their main report, a lot of that came from the 15 to 18, but the changes we made from 18 and above were steps in the right direction. Having said that, they still have other changes that they recommended, and so we've incorporated some of that. So let's start we'll start at the top here, I guess. The first thing we've done is we've highlighted the detective corporal exam, and this completely falls into the still need to work on category. We're really kind of thinking the detective corporal exam has no assessment center, so it's kind of, different than the lieutenant commander and sergeant exams, but I guess now we have three categories, the lieutenant and sergeant, and then the third category of commander, so how we'll do this. But either way, with no assessment center, it's kind of a fundamentally different type of test, and so we're still kind of working through, and we'd like to talk to y'all about what changes you think should be made to either seniority points, a cutoff score, all of that stuff. Basically, everything's on the table. I will say the Kroll report kind of, I won't say ignored, but they discounted the detective corporal because I think there wasn't enough tests done on the detective corporal, or because, again,
There was a lack of data. There's only a limited amount of data in 2019 and 2020, whereas we had at least 5 years of data for the other ranks. And so they've kind of just pushed it off to the side in terms of their analysis to us. And so we've had a lot of internal discussions about this, and I don't think we've come to a consensus, so that's why we wanted to open it up for y'all's discussion and what y'all's thoughts are as well, so we can kind of tweak, maybe if needed, maybe not at all. But that's basically what Kroll had us say about corporal.
yeah. All right, if you can go down to section 2, Sarah. All right, so for the first thing you'll notice is we have eliminated the technical skills exam for a couple of reasons. One is, I don't know in which order, but one is it's not recommended by Kroll, and two is we haven't done it in like over 15 years. So as much as I am management and we should hoard everything we have, even if we never use it, but we may use it 30 years from now and we don't want to buy it back from y'all, we also don't want our officers guessing as to whether or not we're going to implement some new process that we haven't used in a long time, which is the technical skills exam. So we are proposing the elimination of the technical skills exam throughout the contract. And so where it was an option to do that or the assessment center, it will just be an assessment center. The other issue with commanders, I will say, is, there's a question that we need to figure out. We have a proposed solution, but there's a question for us to figure out because the next scheduled commander's exam is for April of 23. And a lot of the innovative changes that y'all proposed, we won't have time to implement all of that from October till April before the test happens. The Leadership Academy, the mentoring. So we have a proposal here that kind of, will accomplish both of our goals. So we'll get to that in just a second. Okay, so yeah, no, you can go down. Okay, so number 3 at the top here. One of the changes we're making is, and again, this is not the city trying to take advantage of the situation, it's just something we think we should talk about, is right now, because there's so many questions on how a Leadership Academy could work, how a mentoring program could work, what we've done is we've said that we'll create a labor management committee, and they'll come up with a recommendation for how these things would work. And then the chief has the ultimate decision on how and when they're going to implement it. But there's a lot of still question marks here. At what is the cutoff date that the chief needs to make this decision by? How many months before the next exam? All of those things are things that I think we need to talk about. All right. All of this obviously has been deleted because it's all to the related to the technical skills exam. You'll see when we count the scores here, it's also a deletion of the technical skills exam. All right, the next big change you see here is the weighting of the assessment centers in the written exam. And we have put down 50-50, which I know we've talked about before in previous negotiations. Our recommendation specifically this time around for 50-50 for all of those three ranks is because it was recommended by Quote. The other change you'll see is that because the Kroll folks said both nationally and here in Austin, the assessment centers help in our diversity and reduce adverse impact, we shouldn't have a cutoff score of a 70 just to get to the assessment center, because you may have a 69 or 68 on the written score, and you never get the chance to use that other process, which would significantly help reduce adverse impact. So the other thing they asked, or they recommended in their report, was do not have a cutoff written score in order to move on to the assessment center. So as we go through the proposal here, you'll see that we have taken out any reference to a passing written score. All right, if you go to section 5, this is in line with what we talked about before. It's the change in the cutoff score and also the removal of the technical skills evaluation and the technical skills evaluation committee, which, like I said, we haven't used in forever. The other thing we did was, if you go down to part C, little C here, you know, the consultant will design the assessment center, which shall include some, if not all, which is the current practice. Obviously, your assessment centers don't have necessarily just in-basket or just problem-solving analysis. It usually is a combination of some of these 6 things. One of the things you'll see later on in the contract is, I want to caveat this with, we are looking at our current contract with our vendor for the assessment centers to see how much of this we can implement right away versus wait till that contract ends, because we have a legal obligation to do it a certain way. But one of the things we're going to ask them for is they need to put out ahead of time which one of these 6 or which combination of these 6 they're going to be using. I just think it's more fair to our test takers to know exactly what, at least some sort of idea of what is going to be on the assessment center, and also better for us as a department to be able to prepare. And I think that there's not much preparation, frankly, on the department's end, since most of the assessors come from outside. However, it is more fair to our employees to know exactly, hey, just tell us, of these 6, are you going to use 4 of them, 5 of them, 1 of them, there's no inherent advantage or disadvantage. There's no inherent advantage to any particular person by being told which one of these 6 or combination is going to be used. So we just think it's only the right thing to do. Number 7, this is already in place, but we just want to codify it, that our assessors will be trained in implicit bias expectations of their duties as assessors. And the other thing that we're really going to harp on, which I know is true today, but we don't think it's as robust as it could be. It's human nature to kind of, when you're looking at giving critiquing folks, you'll talk about some of the good things that they did. But what really helps folks who maybe don't pass or don't get promoted because their assessment center scores were low, is tell me exactly where I need to work on. What is it that I did that you scored me low on, and tell me what I could have done better. So what we're going to do is, in that rating sheet, which I don't think needs to be in the contract, but in the review sheet that our vendor gives to the assessors, is going to have a lot more detailed questions that they need to answer about. Tell me specifically what areas could they have worked on to higher their score in this area, and that area, and this question, and that question. So I just think it gives more feedback to your members about what it is they need to work on for the next time around, as opposed to just, hey, they said I did great on the assessment center, but yet my score was low. I don't really know exactly which areas I need to work on to get my score better for the next time, so. All right, F, like I said, we're looking into how soon we can implement some of these things based on our vendor contracts that we have in place right now. G is also a big change. As we know, assessors, they're gonna differ. You're gonna have, 10 groups of 2 or 3 each, let's just say. You're gonna get some groups that are super lenient and other groups that are super strict. And sometimes it's just the luck of the draw if you ended up with getting, a more strict or more lenient one. So what we're proposing is that for each candidate, they're gonna have 2 panels that are gonna judge them. And it's not the end-all fix, because of course there's more than 2 panels for some of these assessments, but it's a step in the right direction of trying to get a more fair score for each of your members and for each of our employees, as opposed to somebody just getting the short end of the stick by getting a very strict assessor and another person getting a very lenient assessment panel. And then we just said that, the panel scores will be added together for the panel score. And your assessment center score will be the average of the 2 panel scores. Let me see here, what else we have listed. Yeah, that's it for this one, that's it for G. Sorry, go back up just really quick. So that's just cleanup at the end of G. To our Civil Service Commission, the firefighters, police officers, and EMS personnel Civil Service Commission. Again, took out references to the technical skills exam. On section 6, we clarified that we separated out detective, corporal, sergeant, and lieutenant is good for 24 months. Our solution on part C to the calendar problem of April 2023 is that we're suggesting that we still do an assessment center exam for the rank of commander in April of 23, but that list only be good for 1 year. And in April of 2024, theoretically, we would do another test which actually incorporates all of the things that y'all have put on your PowerPoint. We feel like that'll give us enough time to put those into place, because even if we get a new contract in October, I don't think we're gonna have time to put those things into place before April. That's just my guess, but I may be wrong. So I think C speaks for itself. Y'all can read that and go through and keep going. Clean up. All right, so this is our attempt at the probationary status language that Joe came up with, which again, I want to thank you guys for doing that. I do think there's benefit to both sides, but I don't want to misinterpret kind of what you guys were aiming for. So if we have any of this wrong, just tell us, or if you have other ideas on how we can do the probationary status, obviously we're all ears. More than happy to hear from you. For the rank of commander, each employee promoted after January 1 of 2024, which means with the revised new robust process, they'll be on probation for 6 months. Each employee will be given a memorandum of performance expectations by their immediate supervisor, which shall include a formalized performance plan and expected dates of compliance. And then the time frame can be extended by the immediate supervisor. But essentially, where the probation comes in is, should any promoted employee fail to meet the performance expectations, they'll be subject to a demotion. And I use that phrase lightly because it's not demotion in the sense of the 143 right if you're on probation, but you'll go back to your previous rank of lieutenant. And because it was probation, we're going to make sure you go back to the same classification, and when you get dropped down, Just the same way an assistant chief can be brought back to their previous held rank. A drop back down from commander for failing to pass probation shall not be considered disciplinary demotion and shall not be subject to an appeal or grievance by the employee. We think that's what you meant, otherwise you wouldn't use the phrase probation. At least that's what we interpreted at least. And let me see here, on part D.
We did add in C that the decision for demotion should have to directly come from the chief, who makes the final decision.
Right, so not the assistant chief, but ultimately it's gonna be the chief that makes that decision. Anyways, I think the rest of it,
So,
actually, go ahead.
yeah, D and the, I guess, what we tend to, E came directly from Article 14. There's the reinstatement list that exists indefinitely. So when somebody is, successfully appeals an indefinite suspension or a bypass, and then that has like a waterfall effect downward, those that are bumped down are placed on this reinstatement list. And so what we try to do is that if those that, so let's say this commander doesn't fulfill their probationary period, they get demoted back down, but it creates that waterfall effect. Those underneath will be put on this reinstatement list that's already described in section 14. That's our intent, if that makes sense. This is our attempt at trying to put in what was in that PowerPoint into some actual language.
And that's it for us. So, again, apologies. And I also want to thank our interpreter for coming in at the last minute. I know you were asked to come in on short notice. I appreciate you coming in for the city and for our citizens. But Ron, that's what we have. I don't know if y'all have proposals for today.
I think we need to take all, go through it and stuff like that. Unless, well, we could go back. Yeah, on that one, we can.
Well, we appreciate your proposal. Of course, the promotion deal will take us a bit. We've got a group working on it. I think, we'll look at the drug testing. It seems pretty straightforward. Also, in the hiring language, which is in Article 14, we can take a look at that, and I think the only issue we had, let me find it here. All right, I think we're okay with what the city has put on the table. It basically confirms that you could extend the probation of an officer without, because in layman's, I guess the explanation would be that once they complete the probationary period, they're a tenured employee and have certain rights. And so there may be many reasons why someone doesn't complete probation. They could get sick, they could have a child. Things happen, the city doesn't want to lose the investment in the employees, but they want to have time for review. So we understand that. I think the other part was to make clear that when the city's doing background investigations, they can get the information they need if the person had worked at the fire department. In section 2B, we're okay, of course, with all of the program changes to theirs. So that's fine. We do have sworn designee in there, and I presume if you can live with that, I can't see how that could be a civilian designee determining and applicants processing, and it's from a lateral hiring. So if you live with that, then give us a couple of minutes when we break. I think we can TA on that article.
Yeah, I think when we explained it, we said that while we're saving the caveat for designee on that one, I think we're fine with the chief of police as soon as, yeah.
All right, I don't have anything else. If whether we need to return or not, probably not. We will go and work on these language. Did you want to try, I don't think we have any dates set yet in June.
Right, so yeah, I think if we can, I was hoping to have some more firm dates with fire by now, but we only technically have one date. I think it's the 16th or 17th? 16th. And then right now, Bob is asking for Tuesdays and Thursdays. We are gonna try to get him to change that because of council and council work session days. But at the same time, I mean, something's gonna have to give because it's either gonna be them or y'all or possibly even us, and so we're not gonna be able to take every Tuesday and Thursday off, but it's just, so right now we only have the 16th scheduled, so yeah,
You're talking about in May.
in May, yeah. We only have one date.
I think, well, there's no more dates for us in May, as far as I know. But we're open if you want to look on some June dates. And right now, I only have two, the 2nd and the 9th, that I have blocked for other bargaining. The rest I'm pretty open on. And we like Wednesdays, if we can get them, just because it's in the middle of the week and everybody can get their week started and have to close around on the council date, so.
How many times in June do you want to?
At least twice, like, you know, a week meeting and then a couple of weeks for us, because we're gonna start getting into, excuse me, some of the more comprehensive proposals that take a lot more time.
Yeah.
When we come back, I think we'll be in a position to answer some of the proposals the city has on the table, oversight, discipline, things that are more complicated. We'll have counter proposals or responses. So once we come back, I think we can move fairly expeditious. And then some things here we're not in disagreement on, we can get cleaned up.
Okay, so why don't we look at some of the Wednesdays in June? We'll look at our calendars, otherwise, yeah, and we'll check with our outside council's calendars, but yeah, that's fine. We'll try to do at least two now, and then we'll see if we need to add more.
Okay. All right.
Are you okay on Tuesdays? Just prefer Wednesdays?
It would depend on the day.
I'm open, but I'm retired.
Okay.
Once I get those kids off my yard, I'll be okay.
All right. I knew you were that guy.
I am the guy. I have nothing else to do.
All right, that's good. Then we'll email you
All
some
right.
dates on Wednesday, and then we'll get them posted on our website as soon as y'all confirm that. So for the public or anybody else who's watching, just go to the Labor Relations website sometime later this week, and we'll have the dates for June posted there. All right, thank you very much.
I'll send you a
You already know. Yep.
Are you super comfortable, man? You doing all right? Huh? Is that great?
No, not yet.
I guess not.
That's my last day.